Today's session will be led by Karen Lepore, who is an SAP Solution Consultant here at SAP SuccessFactors. Karen, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Jesse. Thanks, everyone, for joining. It's a privilege to present to you today. Let's get started. We have a lot to talk about, and so buckle up. We're ready to go. Today, I want to talk a little bit about kind of the core HR functionality and payroll and self-service, so quite a few components involved in that. Before we start, we'd like to take just a little bit of a poll for you. What percentage of employees would leave for a more digitally progressive employer? I'll give you a couple of seconds to scroll down and select your choice there. Jesse, have they seen the poll?
They're just seeing it now. Let's take a look in about 20 more seconds. You know what? Let's take a look now.
All right, so let's take a look at what we have. So we have about a split here. We've got 50%. Say it's about 10% of your current employee base would leave to a more digitally progressive player, and 36%, which is another half of the group. It's actually 36%. So 36% of your active employees who are not seeking new employment, they're not open to new opportunities at this time. If someone did approach them and it was a more digitally progressive employer, they might choose to jump over to your friendly competitor. So kind of an interesting mix of 10% to 36% from the poll, so we appreciate that response. Let's talk a little bit about that. Human resources, strategic, not in reality right now, right? We would love for our human resources folks to become more of a strategic player in the organization. When you think about engagement, 41% of employees have experienced work-related burnout to the point that it made them change their employer or career. Wowee, where does that come from? Let's take a look at this one over here. We're looking at about $687 billion in unnecessary admin work right now that costs your organization. I would venture to guess that some of that is related, right? When we think about unnecessary admin tasks that we ask of our employees and what we need for them to do, how long does it take them to submit a time card, get approval for leave, the sticky notes on vacation approvals, right? I have to check and see if my manager says okay, HR has to approve it, they go into their Excel spreadsheet, they come back, it gets approved, goes back to the employee, did the employee take it, did I remember to reduce that out of the Excel spreadsheet, right? That maze of sticky notes, Excel spreadsheets, and word processing docs. How about resolving payroll errors? So you can see how all of this adds up from a dollars and cents perspective, but as well as an employee engagement perspective. Now our CHROs, they know they need to figure out a way of kind of controlling the admin workloads of their employees a little bit more effectively. Current technology can help to remedy those issues, but sometimes it's either lacking or it's not even being implemented at all, right? It's up on that shelf. Now we know that 36% of employees would leave for a more digitally progressive employer. If you think about it, how many of you, if you forgot your phone this morning on the kitchen counter, after realizing it at the first stop sign, would turn around and go back and get it? We, as employees, are used to and now need tech in our process and in our everyday lives. To protect your employer brand and be the employer of choice versus them being sought out from the friendly competition, CHROs know that the time to transform the way employees work is now. When we look at this trust section here, nearly half of American workers will seek new employment after just 2 payroll mistakes. I thought that was fascinating. So I did a little research to see how that broke down. Let's see how it translates. If you think about organizations today, right, spanning about 4 generations of workers across your organization. Let's break it down. Salaried employees are more likely than hourly workers to start looking for a new job after the first problem hits. A third of parents, 30% of parents, will kick off a job search after the first error. 16% of non-parents would do that. 29% of men are more likely than 17% of women to do the same after just one issue. 44% of American employees that are 55 and older would stay at their job as long as they're eventually paid correctly, but that's in contrast to their colleagues. 13% of 18 to 29-year-olds, 17% of 30 to 39-year-olds, and 27% of 40 to 54% are much less willing to stay, even if they're not paid correctly. So they're jumping ship for the slightest reason. They're looking for that reason, and we're going to take a look a little bit about that in just a minute. So what's preventing the HR organizations from being successful? Poor workforce productivity, lack of insight, disengaged employees, fear of noncompliance. We've all heard these issues over and over. You think about traditional HR, we're about the people. We're known to be the champions of what? The soft skills, right? Today's world, HR is really about strong strategic data decisions. However, the enterprise reporting tools from back in the day, they're not really typically designed for your HR department. When we talk to customers like yourself, we hear that they struggle getting the data they need in time to make people decisions. The best people decisions are based on the best data decisions. That's going to give you the visibility to decide what decisions matter and then predicting the when of when these decisions will matter. And you need that like right now, when the phone rings, when your manager calls and asks that question. Where's that real-time people data that you're looking for at all times? So how you support as an organization and an HR organization, how you support your employees, your managers, and your leaders in the org need to be reinforced by a tool that's kind of part of the employee's everyday work life, right? It has to be efficient, need to accommodate your unique business needs, as well as being able to optimize your complete total workforce, whether it's contingent, whether it's in the field, whether it's salary or corporate. They all need to live under that single banner of processes and capabilities and solutions. And that's what we're going to talk to you a little bit about today. So we have one more quick poll question before we get started. What percentage of employees in your org would be open to new opportunities? Give you a minute to read that. What percentage of employees in your organization do you think are open to a new job right now? See how we're doing? 60%, 75% of my attendees say 60%, and 25 at 25. So we're right. It's about 85%. The active candidate pool, active candidates who are really just looking for jobs, they're posting resumes and searching, is about 12%. So all organizations, whether you're a technology organization, a retail organization, you're going after that same 12%. There's an 85% pool inside your organization that would actually open to new opportunities. It could be a different job title. It could be within their career, outside of their career. They might be looking to go part-time, might be internships. They're all open to new opportunities inside your org. We want to be able to make sure we protect them and keep them inside the organization. So 85% is actually the answer. So what I'd like to talk about today is this is more of an agenda slide on how I'm going to take you through for the next few minutes. I'm going to walk you through an overview of the solution and talk to you about how we can enable and support your HR transformation journey. In listening to our HR folks, it's really the HR department that's been largely responsible for a bulk of these processes and tasks that we're going to kind of talk about today. So my focus for the overview is to help you imagine how our solution can place ownership of everyday transactions into the hands of your employees, your managers, your leaders, and kind of eliminate the challenge of employees feeling disconnected, and then allowing HR finally the privilege of focusing on strategic business decisions. We're going to start here with core HR. I'm going to focus on the user experience of your HR practitioners, how you're going to be able to navigate to manage your employees at the detail level as well as the strategic level. I'm then going to move into benefits management from more of a self-service, administrative, and also a community perspective, right? It's table stakes to be able to understand what my benefits are, but how do you communicate that out to your world today? Time and attendance, we're going to focus on the agility of an intelligent engine and they're going to allow our employees ownership and real-time evaluations. And then we'll wind down with payroll, your proven, rock-solid process control center, and make it administration very simple and provocative and bring that control back in-house. And we'll take a quick look at HR self-service from a field manager self-service role. Everything I talk about today, we should be able to manage effectively on our mobile devices, right? We forgot our phone. That means I can barely be productive if I can't look on my phone and schedule that quick vacation or enter my time card or check out my pay statement. So we want to make sure that we bring that tech down into our pockets. Now, we'll dive into that in a different session, but just know that as I'm moving through the applications and the solutions, that we'll be able to talk about that from a mobile perspective as well. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen. And I'll reach out to my team to make sure that you can see and hear me well before we get started. Jesse,
all right, I'm seeing you in one area. I just want to wait one more moment to make sure that it's catching through on the other side.
All right, so I will promise to slow it down and talk a little bit slowly so you can kind of keep up with the screen share. So right now I'm logged in as more of a HR generalist or a practitioner, if you will. And so as we log into the solution, we want to really make sure that it's personalized for who I am, kind of a what you see is what you get type of thing from a permissions perspective as well as a personalization perspective. So I can see about 3 different swim lanes here. I like to see my reporting on the bottom. I want to be able to drill into my personal details and things that I do every day on a daily basis. As well as in more of a manager perspective, I need to take some action and do some workflow. How I see that information is completely configurable for me. I can take the opportunity to personalize it. I might like to see a list of my honeydews right here, so whether it's taking action or approving requests, taking some courses, all combined in one to-do list, very easy to access, as well as notifications. I see that I've got Steve going on vacation, so it's kind of notifying me of an event that's about to happen, but it's also a smart notification. So it allows me to say, you know what, you better go ahead and adjust goals because Steve might not be able to accomplish his due date because he's going to be gone for such a long period of time. So as we start to navigate through, how you work becomes your dashboard. It's your home page. Now let's take a look down here. Let's say that telephone rings, right? We talked about insights. How quickly can I get people decisions made? And the telephone rings and your boss says, hey, you know, our friendly competitor's having some diversity issues on a particular job role. How are we doing as it relates to that? So as I start to click into that dashboard, real-time information presented, whether I filter it by that job role or that department or that division. If I need to export it or send it out to my manager immediately, I have it right here at my fingertips in real time with no waiting before I hang up that telephone. Now let's take a look. We had that action alert. I've got to go ahead and execute a job change for Carl into a new position. Let's say my generalist is out on vacation, and I'm going to pick up where she left off and take care of that for her because it's due shortly. I'm going to come up here to my quick action search. As I start to type in Carl's name, it starts to present a list, right? Smart typing, but it's much more than that. As I hover over his quick card, I could drill down and take immediate action and make that job change. I can reach out to Carl, as well as maybe take a look at the organization. If I'm going to promote him, I want to know what's going on in his department. So as I move through, I can see the entire organization at a glance. What do I mean by entire? Let's take a look. I have Anson here. He's over on temporary assignment globally. I can see my matrixed organization at a glance, so I can see everybody I need to see here, as well as my whole holistic workforce. Contingent labor is still part of my team, and I want to be able to take a look at that at any given time. But again, I can action on each one of these quick cards as quickly as I need to make that change. Maybe it's even add a new employee or download it for a formal presentation to talk about it. Or I want to see a little bit of insights. Let's click on insights here. Real-time data, succession positions. I'm about to make a move on Carl here to promote him. What does my contingent worker status look like? What is my current head count? Do I have any limitations here? More importantly, let's take a look at the position chart. That's where I live as an HR practitioner. I want to see what positions are available to me. Do I have FTEs? I can see that I'm in production oversight. I'm lacking an FTE here. But from a research and development, Carl has already filled the full FTE. If I move him, I might need to make another decision. So at a glance, whether I go back in time, whether I want to do a real-time peer position, a low-level position, even create a job rec from scratch, I can do so in one click without having to navigate to another component or another area of the solution. Again, everything is smart in nature within the solution. So if I think about, let's start typing in engineering, I select that engineering job code and it immediately automatically populates everything I need without me having to think about it to get my job done as quickly as possible before I make that change. So I can make intelligent decisions here. I'm going to take Carl here, and let's go take a look at Carl. So immediately I can take action. I wanted to execute a job change, or I might want to go and jump to a particular section of his profile. Let's just go to his generic profile and take a look. High-level demographic information available to me at all times here. So I'm looking at Carl. I can see where he is. I can see history at any given time. I might want to take a quick action here. Generate a document, give a badge, add a note, do a real function like a termination, or what we're going to do in a minute is a promotion. And even if Carl signs on, if Carl signed on to his own profile and wanted to make his own self-service change, he can simply come in, and as he starts to make that change, let's say he went from single to married, our workflows and journeys will begin. Your marital status has been changed. Don't forget to upload your proof of status. Be sure to update your benefits and payroll. Now, we could put this on a journey and a workflow, or it could be kind of a warning or just kind of a job notification for him. I'm going to cancel there. But as an HR practitioner, I'm going to come down and take a look at his employment area here. And I'm going to make a change. So let's take that edit. I'm going to make a comp change because I'm feeling generous today. We're going to give him a big old raise and then change him into a new role. I'm also going to make that more retroactive in nature as well, so we can see that a little bit later as we start to think about payroll. I'm going to come in and I'm going to, again, change that role. It brings it forward to me. But again, smart, intelligent actions already know what other changes need to be made. So for example, I might change the classification of that job, or he's going from an hourly to a completely different pay grade, which is going to affect payroll, as well as, what about a time change? He's going from an hourly time clock to a professional salary. That might look and feel slightly different, or a different work schedule, for example. So everything makes changes as it trickles down through the profile. So all connected. Let's say we are going to give him that nice raise. Feeling generous, let's give him another 30%. He just got married. We're going to go ahead and make that change for us. And as I move forward, it immediately starts its journey as well. This is intelligence services kicking in, saying, you know what, that pay rate's greater than 5%. It's going to go on its own little workflow, as well as you went retroactive into the past, so additional approvals are going to be required. As I proceed through, I can see my complete workflow journey right here in front of me. I can add my comments, see who my tasks are going to be routed to, what route it's going to take, drill down and make any notes and take action immediately, or go ahead and just let it take its journey that we're going to see in just a minute. So that's a little bit about how we can make a quick change, whether I was Carl coming in and making a marital status change, or a practitioner coming in and being able to make additional changes such as moving him into a promotion. But we also want to be able to take ad hoc action. So as that promotion occurs, of course, an automated letter might go out to Carl to congratulate him. Sometimes there's something just ad hoc or exception-based that you might want to do. Let's say I just want to say, hey, congratulations, and I have my own special templates of promotion letters available to me. We're pleased to inform you you've been promoted. Don't forget to reach out to us. Congratulated success on the rest of your journey. So all of that available right here within my fingertips without having to leave the screen. Now, we also noticed that he went from single to married, so as Carl comes back in the morning, maybe he just wants to take a look at what his benefits are doing here. So let's go into benefits for a second. Within the entire solution, there's always an ability to learn more. So let's move through from benefits to say, I want to take a look at my confirmation statement. What have I already enrolled in? Maybe it's a quick enroll that I have right here on the right. Or I'm just going to drill in and learn a little bit more. It's kind of the beginning of the year. I haven't done my homework. Gosh, how do I figure out how to enroll in my benefits? One of the things that we have is instructions or show me videos everywhere. At the top of the screen, you can run a video at any given time. And so any type of tailored instructions from any screen can be recorded to show them kind of how to, versus having to reach out or go to another intranet site or email, etc. Everything right here and available to them. Now, as I move down, let's say I want to put I'm newly married, so I want to put my supplemental life insurance on for my spouse. Again, I don't have to leave my personal profile to see any type of information that's important to me. So it's intelligent and gives me the visibility and the agility to make those decisions as quickly as possible. I'm going to go ahead and select that benefit. I can learn a little bit more about it, make my changes, confirm it, and it's just going to pop it right into my shopping cart for me. So I'm able to take action, take a look at, make any other decisions and edits as I see fit, and go ahead and do my enrollment without leaving my personal profile. Now that's kind of nice, but I also want to reach out, right? What do you typically do when you're trying to make your benefits decisions? You go home, you talk to your partner, you talk to the friend over the cubicle wall. What are you going to do? I don't know. What did you choose? What did you choose? So we want to make sure that we have a community for them to do that in a very social environment. So I'm going to reach out to my benefits community here. And it allows me to see online, whether it's a webinar, a video that you have, or just context or content within our community area. So I see I have a benefits enrollment. I might want to scroll down and read any open enrollment benefits, sign up for my videos, or just get some content or data or context around what's happening in my new year for the 2019 benefits. So everything's available for me right here without leaving my screen, being able to navigate around the solution to get that self-service. Again, whether I'm on my mobile phone, on my iPad, I'm sitting on the couch on a Sunday talking to my partner, or whether I come into the office and I'm working on my laptop. So now as we come back home, let's take a look at kind of the workflow routing that we've talked about. We talked a lot about approving things and workflow journeys. So as an HR generalist comes in, what are her workflow lists look like? What are her honeydews, if you will? You can see I have some time entry that I need to approve. It might be a benefit enrollment that we just looked at. Could be that pay change, or even that job rec. Maybe I wanted to create that new requisition or position, and I want to take a look at what that job description was that got routed to me from the manager. Let's take a look at this pay change here. So as a generalist or a practitioner, I have my set of workflow, and I can see everything, not just the journey or the route of the workflow, but what happened within that workflow. So I can see my boss said, let's discuss this in the weekly meeting. She's got a little hesitancy here. So I have every piece of data I need to have that discussion, as well as to make a decision, whether it's updating my information, going ahead and approving it, declining it, sending it back for more information, lots of availability here. But what happens when that weekly meeting happens? Let's go back to our homepage and say, you know what do you do to prepare for a meeting? Today you go off into your PowerPoint, you're creating slides, you get in, then you have to pull your laptop in to pull up the solution. We wanted to make sure that you had that all at your fingertips. So we have something called presentations here that allows me within the solution to have that right here. And so I have my HR weekly update meeting available to me. I start to move through, I've built my slides. As I see here, I can upload a PowerPoint. I can create decks from scratch right here. I can also add live slides. Let's go see what that looks like. So as I start to think about what slides I want to upload and move through the presentation, here's my live slide. So that question about, let's say, a job change comes up. Here's Carl. Well, what about Anson? He might be coming back from that global assignment. Let's see how their skills match up before we make that promotion and create that new position that came through workflow and approve. Let's make sure that we have all our ducks in a row. So being able to take action on live data right here within the presentation itself, right here within my homepage. So I can add that tile to my homepage. I can navigate through Smart Search and have that available to me at all times. Now let's go ahead and take a look at kind of time entry. Tess is here right on her favorite tile page here. She's going to take a look at her time off. When we look at time off, again, going backward and forward in time and being able to make decisions. So I go forward, okay, I got about 26 days left. I got about 10 sick days here. I'm looking through all of my information right here. I don't have to request a time report. I don't have to log off, log back on to another area, go out and look at my Excel spreadsheet, everything right here at my fingertips. Whether it's past, I took a couple of vacations back in November, but now we're in 2019. And I can also view my team. Before I go ahead and send this for approval and request my time off, what's going on with my peers? I might want to know that information, right before I take that time off, so I don't have egg on my face when my manager says, what were you thinking? 4 other people have taken that same time. It looks good to me, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paint the days off that I want. Now, as it starts to do that, notice that it knows that this is a weekend. It's not going to include those days. If it was a holiday, it wouldn't include that as well. It's smart enough to understand the holiday calendars and the calendars of work that this particular employee is assigned to. So it knows that it's a vacation. I can upload any additional documentation. Maybe I'm going to go take a nice honeymoon vacation because we just got married. I'm going to go ahead and see that no others are absent during my time off, so it automatically comes and presents that information for me so I can make an intelligent decision before it gets routed and sent for approval. I also want to go ahead and update my time card, right? Before I leave for vacation, I might want to go ahead and do my timesheet. So let's go and view my timesheet. And I'm an hourly professional employee, so I simply don't have to record hour by hour. Maybe it's just day at a time or week at a time. So I start to go ahead and I fill in my timesheet here. I kind of remember back on Monday, let's say I had some additional work that I did. I'm going to put in for my overtime in this particular calendar or fashion. And I did it for the sales team, so I want to make sure that I allocate that time effectively. So I see I'm going to put that to a different cost center because I really want credit for that. So I come through and I put it into the cost center. I'm done. It goes ahead and calculates my time off, what my working time is, calculates my time and a half, how many hours of that working time is going to be calculated for this particular calendar that's assigned to me as an employee, and I'm all set and off to the races. I'm going to navigate home now. And before my weekly meeting, I might want to say, okay, so at the beginning of the year, I want to see what my total costs are. So as I come through of my unscheduled absences, it costs a lot of money, right? We have overlay, people end up working overtime because too many folks. I want to make sure I have all of the data at my fingertips before I go into my strategic planning meeting for the rest of the year. Or I'm looking at trends, or I want to input some data into the view, everything available right here off my homepage without having to navigate elsewhere. Now I'm going to change hats a little bit here and take a look at some manager self-service. So I'm going to go into Carl Dixon's manager, Jeff, and just kind of take a look from a self-service perspective and from a manager perspective versus a practitioner. How can I see things just a little bit differently? So as Jeff logs in, you see his swim lanes look slightly different. He's managing a larger team. He looks at org chart a lot. He's got anniversaries that he wants to make note of. I'm going to come and look at my team. I see Carl here, and I can see that he's got some activities that are overdue since he took his new role. So before he leaves on vacation, I might want to say, hey, Carl, we need for you to finish that learning so you can be productive the second you come back and you can hit the ground running. So I can take action or navigate to his profile to learn a little bit more. Now, I also might be meeting with my team in the field. So if I have a field team, I want to come through and say, where's everybody at? As I plan my trips across the country or into the field for a particular project, I want to know where everybody's living and working to make sure that I can find them as quickly as possible. Down to the street address, this is where I'm going to meet with Carl on our meeting. I can drill into his employee profile, have everything right here in my pickup truck as I'm ready to hit the field to go have that meeting at my breakfast restaurant. So very easy to navigate back and forth to make sure that I understand where I'm at all times with my team as a manager. Now, one of the last things we're going to take a look at is as we look at Jeff, let's say he had an outstanding ticket. So from a self-service perspective, he might want to come through and he submitted a ticket that he said he had accrued a little bit additional time off. He sees here that it's been resolved, so he sees his Ask HR tickets then been taken care of. So from a self-service perspective, HR has already responded and solved that problem. He's going to go in and he's going to take a little look at that. So let's go from a payroll perspective in a compensation area. I want to drill down. So whether I'm looking at comp, payroll, time, benefits, all of that information in one profile at a glance, let's start with compensation. I can see all of his information here. So as we start to move through, yep, I've got my base pay, I've got my variable pay. I can see if any of my one-time deductions have taken effect. I can even take a look at kind of my combined statement from a best rewards perspective. So here's my total reward statement, obviously configurable, everything that I need, my merit, my current salary, my total rewards, and then I can come back and make another decision. So as we move through to payroll, I can see all of the information that I need that we're holding. So when we move to payroll in just a second, everything from the benefits that he enrolled in, his deductions, his variable pay, his compensation, all available for self-service, as well as gathering that information to prepare for an accurate payroll run. So this is a little bit about what the employee side looks like. Now we're going to move into what it looks like from a payroll admin. So let's take a look, and we'll log on as our payroll admin here. It's timed out, so just give me 1 second. And so now I'm logged in as my payroll admin, Shane, and he has a very different swim lane, right? On his, he has a lot of different control center. He's got off-cycle workbenches. He's got transaction postings and so on. I'm going to move him into the payroll control center. When we think of payroll, it's comprised of several different processes. Let's say you're decentralized. Let's say you're global. How does your payroll admin manage multiple processes? As we come through here, I can see as it starts to load. There we go. A little bit slow from the webinar here. So let's come back down here. Every step and process that you see in your organization is configured your rules, your way. So for example, one of the most important, pre-payroll checks. I call this payroll admin fun time, right? You can run your payroll as many times as you like, fix the errors, see what it looks like. You don't have to bring home the briefcase anymore and go through each of it and laboriously calculate error after error. We create your test runs. We initiate all the policies, regulations. And then we move into a monitoring phase. So I can see here already, I've got some alerts that I need to take care of. Tessa's got one, I've got 4 as Shane. I can see how the test data is running, right? So this is what the gross is going to be. Ran against a subset of employees. I can see all of my different changes, any retroactive differences, and so it's calculating. I don't have to go to another admin area to process all of my retro. So all of this is here, right here on my dashboard without having to leave the screen. Now I remember here, if I've already tested and am in the monitoring phase, I had 4 alerts that I need to take care of. So I'm going to go to my personal alerts to see what that looks like. So Shane has 4 alerts that he needs to take care of. So as it starts to build, and let's give this just a second here, as it starts to build, I'm able to see everything that I need to take care of right here at my fingertips. So from the pre-payroll run, I've got some mismatched lived-in, worked-in areas. I've got my employee has in a bank account, so I've got to figure that out. So as I drill in here, I can take care of this in real time, see what those errors are, apply the solution, resolve it, and then I can rerun my test before I move into production. So I can see Michael here. I've got to change his lived-in residence area from Pittsburgh to the work tax area of Ohio. I need to make a change here. 1 click, and it brings me immediately into Michael Pittman's record for me to make that administrative change without having to leave my dashboard. When we come back to processes, typically a 4-step process, completely your rules, your way, but in my little system here, I've got the ability to see what my pre-run looks like. I've got my ability to see what my production run looks like. Get that check payroll done, ready to go. Create my posting documents, being able to run a weekly payroll or a monthly payroll. Transmit, create the pay statements, start the payroll run, and then move right into posting it out to transmit the posting to your financial services and print those checks and get those statements prepared. So any type of process that you have, whether it's weekly, off-cycle, monthly, globally, so for different countries around the world, how you run in a centralized or decentralized environment is completely up to you and configurable for you. So lastly, if we wanted to take a look, for example, at Jeff's payroll statement, it gets immediately ran for him. We come down to payroll, he sees his pay statement, and everything is recorded for him in a timely fashion. So moving through, I can see here all of my pay runs right here to the left. I can click forward and backward in time. Everything configurable from the way the payout statement is laid out, all the taxes being generated for us and withheld, any tax deductions, pre-tax, your garnishments, alimony, et cetera, reimbursements, as well as the ability to do your bank transfers and automatic deposits, and a configurable statement that allows you to create your statement any way that you see fit with your messaging and your formatting and so on. So that's just a little bit about kind of the day in the life, if you will. I'm going to come back to Presentation Manager here. and just do a quick recap. So we took a look at core HR. We looked at the user experience from a practitioner and from a manager moving into a meeting with live presentations. We were able to drill in and make simple changes as well as see detailed information against all of our employees and perform intelligent actions at a glance. We moved into benefits, and we took a look at kind of self-service and enrollment, as well as being able to see all of the detail right there within his employee profile, as well as a community where he can collaborate, watch his webinars, see the content upcoming, and exchange ideas and get advice out on the community site. We looked at time and attendance, where we can have different calendars, different ways to enter your time off, as well as being able to always be in collaboration with your team and understanding your peer absences as well as being able to do cost allocations across different cost centers. And then we moved a little bit into payroll to take a look at kind of how we can do our pre-production payroll, kind of your admin playtime, if you will, to make sure everything is correct for production, being able to manage our alerts online and in real time, as well as being able to transmit into financial and accounting, as well as any accounting system that you have in place today. And again, from a self-service, being able to ask HR and kind of do some self-service ticketing, as well as managing my team and my own personal profiles and my own personal talent profiles as well. Again, experience matters, right? So we talked about being able to put technology in their pockets for everyday work. So it's consistent from when they leave the house, they stop at that first stop sign, they can make any changes they need when they get to the office, as well as after hours on their mobile phone, and have that experience consistent across their entire day.